It said, "Don't let her sit down." I don't know what happens if she does. I don't know who it was meant for. I don't know who wrote it for me. So, before I forget this too, let me tell you about the woman in the chair.
Codex 11, Supernatural Case Files. Case File 013, The Woman in the Chair. Classification, Memory Harvest / Collector Entity / Identity Erosion. The archive holds many things. Borrowed grief, forgotten names, rooms that remember their visitors long after the visitors forget themselves, but sometimes it holds a confession from something that was once a person, something that still thinks it is. This is one of those.
I've worked hospice for, I think, 11 years now, maybe 12. The math gets slippery lately. You'd think it would be the hardest job in the world. People assume that. They make this face when you tell them, this flinch, like you've said something sad, but it's not sad. Not really. It's just true, all the way true. Nothing hidden. You learn to love it, that kind of honesty, or I did anyway. The first time a patient mentioned her was a man named Walter, 83, former electrician. Very precise, very calm, like he was reading from a diagram. He said, "There's a woman who comes in the evenings, sits in that chair by the window, helps me sort things out." I looked at the chair, empty. A volunteer, maybe? One of the chaplains? He shook his head. No badge. She just asks me what I want to remember. And then I tell her. And then I feel lighter. He died 3 days later, completely at peace. I told myself, and I believed it, that dying people see things. The brain does extraordinary things at the end. Grief takes shapes. Love takes shapes. I let it go. Then there was Donna, 61, too young, lung cancer. She was angry about dying, which I respected. But one morning I came in and she was different, settled, not resigned, just done carrying something. She said, "That woman came back last night." I went still. "What woman?" "The one who sits in the corner. You know. The one with the gray eyes." I didn't know. She asked me what I wanted to let go of, Donna said, and I told her about my mother, my first husband, the things that weigh on you. She paused. I can't remember what I actually said to her now. Isn't that funny? I remember telling her, but the memory of the telling is just gone. She seemed fine with this. I was not fine with this. I started keeping a log, informal, just for myself. Over the next 2 months, 8 patients mentioned a woman in the chair by the window. All of them described her the same way. Gray eyes, not old, not young, sits quietly, asks what you want to remember, leaves before morning. All of them felt lighter afterward. All of them forgot, in some specific way, what they'd said to her. One woman forgot her sister's middle name. A retired teacher named Ellis forgot the title of the first book he'd ever loved. Some adventure novel, dog-eared, bought secondhand when he was 9. I remember loving something, he said. I just can't remember what. He died smiling. I asked Marcus about it. He'd been there longer than me. He got quiet in a way that wasn't comfortable. Some patients mention her. It's not unusual. Has anyone reported it? The ones who see her don't seem to mind. That's not what I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. And then, and I've thought about this 100 times since, he said, "How long have you been on nights?" I told him, 6 months, maybe 7. He nodded slowly, like he was doing math I couldn't see. Right, he said, and went back to his charting. I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. The records were what broke it open. I went looking for my original hire paperwork. I wanted to see, I don't know what I wanted to see. Proof that I'd started when I thought I had. Some anchor. The file went back 23 years. I stood in the records room for a long time holding that folder. I don't have 23 years of memories. I have maybe 4, 5 if I stretch. Everything before that is impressions, shapes of things, nothing I can hold. I thought, there must be a mistake. But the handwriting on every form was mine. The signature, the emergency contact, a name I don't recognize, a number I've never dialed. I've been here for 23 years, and I remember almost none of it. Around that same time, a new patient was admitted, young, only 54. His name was Thomas. The first morning I brought his medication, and he looked up at me, and he looked at me like he recognized me, like I'd already been there. You came to see my father, he said, quietly, like it was a fact. I told him I didn't think so. He said, 15 years ago, St. Catherine's, the night before he passed. He tilted his head. You look exactly the same. I smiled. I said I must have a twin, but my hands were shaking when I walked out. I don't know exactly when my own gaps started. That's the thing. You don't notice gaps while they're forming. You just notice one day that something is missing. My mother's voice. I know she had a particular way of saying my name, a stress on the second syllable, a little music in it, but I can't hear it anymore, not even in memory. The name of the street I grew up on, the face of the person who taught me to drive. I told myself stress, exhaustion, doubles. I told myself a lot of things. What made it real was the photograph. I found it while cleaning out my locker. A woman in a hospital corridor, standing very still, facing slightly away from the camera. Grey cardigan, dark hair pulled back. On the back, in my handwriting, she was here again, night of the 14th, 3rd time this month. I had no memory of taking it. I turned it over, looked at the woman's face, the grey cardigan. It was mine. I sat in my car for a long time, and I tried to think clearly. 11 years or 23 of sitting with the dying, asking the right questions, staying when others left. What do you want to remember? How many times had I asked that? How many times had someone looked at me with relief, this profound, grateful relief, and handed me something they'd been carrying for years, and then woken up lighter, and then forgotten. I don't think I was always this. I think there's a before, but I can't reach it anymore. I've tried. I've sat very still and looked for the edge of myself, the place where I started, and there's just nothing before the work. Nothing before the hallways and the low lighting and the sound of someone's breathing as it changes. I think I've been feeding on it. Not cruelly. I think I take what's too heavy to carry out. What they want to put down. And I carry it for a while. And then it dissolves. And in exchange, they get peace. And I don't know what I get anymore. I don't remember what I was hungry for at the beginning. Last night, a man named Robert, 77, congestive heart failure. He looked at the chair by his window and smiled. You came back, he said. I didn't remember coming before. But I sat down and I asked him, what do you want to remember? and he told me everything, and I felt warm. That's what frightens me most. Not that I'm taking something, but that it feels like coming home. So I'm making this recording for whoever finds it, for the version of me that might listen to it someday and not know why she sounds so tired. I want someone to know when they think they're talking to themselves or to the air or to some mercy that wandered in. They're not alone, and whatever is sitting in that chair, it used to be human. I'm almost sure. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. The note I found this morning. Don't let her sit down. I wrote it to warn myself, which means I've known, which means I've tried to stop before, which means this recording, this might not be the first one of these I've made.
End of case file 013. Filed under collectors/keepers/ the kind of mercy that costs. This one goes in the aisle where the helpers keep their secrets.